is our last night reading together. I have so enjoyed doing this with you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. So we're going to read the last 2 chapters today. And I would say that there is also sadness in what that we're reading tonight. Just like last night. So, if you feel so led, then go ahead and get someone to listen to it with you, or maybe you wait till tomorrow before coming to camp to listen. You can get your blanket and pillow to snug with if you want, but I think it's still a good ending. And we can talk about it when we're finished with it. Okay. Chapter 7. Cold Fury. The 3 dark dragons were outside of the barn when Adara returned, feasting on the burned and blackened carcasses of her father's stock. One of the dragon riders was standing near them, leaning on his lance and prodding his dragon from time to time. He looked up when the cold gust of wind came shrieking across the fields, and shouted something, and sprinted for the black dragon. The beast tore a last hunk of meat from her father's horse, swallowed, and rose reluctantly into the air. The rider flailed his whip. Adara saw the door of the farmhouse burst open. The other 2 riders rushed out and ran for their dragons. The black dragon roared, and its fire came blazing up at them. Adara felt the searing of heat, and a shudder went through the ice dragon as the flames played along its belly. Then it craned its long neck around and fixed its baleful empty eyes upon the enemy, and opened its frost-rimmed jaws. Out from among its icy teeth its breath came streaming, and that breath was pale and cold. It touched the left wing of the coal-black dragon beneath them, and the dark beast gave a shrill cry of pain. And when it beat its wings again, the frost-covered wing broke in 2. Dragon and dragon rider began to fall. The ice dragon breathed again. They were frozen and dead before they hit the ground. The rust-colored dragon was flying at them, and the dragon the color of blood with its bare-chested rider. Adara's ears were filled with their angry roaring, and she could feel their hot breath around her, and see the air shimmering with heat, and smell the stink of sulfur. 2 long swords of fire crossed in midair, but neither touched the ice dragon, though it shriveled in the heat, and water flew from it like rain whenever it beat its wings. The blood-colored dragon flew too close, and the breath of the ice dragon blasted the rider. His bare chest turned blue before Adara's eyes, and moisture condensed on him in an instant, covering him with frost. He screamed and died and fell from his mount, though his harness had remained behind, frozen to the neck of his dragon. The ice dragon closed on it, wings screaming the secret song of winter, and a blast of flame met a blast of cold. The ice dragon shuddered once again and twisted away, dripping. The other dragon died. But the last dragon rider was behind them now, the enemy in full armor on the dragon whose scales were the brown of rust. Adara screamed, and even as she did, the fire enveloped the ice dragon's wing. It was gone in less than an instant, but the wing was gone with it, melted, destroyed. The ice dragon's remaining wing beat wildly to slow its plunge, but it came to earth with an awful crash. Its legs shattered beneath it, and its wings snapped in 2 places, and the impact of the landing threw Adara from its back. She tumbled to the soft earth of the field, and rolled, and struggled up, bruised but whole. The ice dragon seemed very small now, very broken. Its long neck sank wearily to the ground, and its head rested amid the wheat. The enemy dragon rider came swooping in, roaring with triumph. The dragon's eyes burned. The man flourished his lance and shouted. The ice dragon painfully raised its head once more, and made the only sound that Adara ever heard it make. a terrible, thin cry full of melancholy, like the sound the north wind makes when it moves around the towers and battlements of the white castle that stands empty in the land of always winter. When the cry had faded, the ice dragon sent cold into the world one final time, a long, smoking blue-white stream of cold that was full of snow and stillness and the end of all living things. The dragon rider flew right into it, still brandishing whip and lance. Adara watched him crash. Then she was running, away from the fields, back to the house and her family with him, running as fast as she could, running and panting and crying all the while like a 7-year-old. Adara did not know what to do, but she found Terry, whose tears had dried by then, and they freed Jeff, and then untied their father. Terry nursed him and cleaned out his wounds. When his eyes opened and he saw Adara, he smiled. She hugged him very hard and cried for him. By night, he said he was fit enough to travel. They crept away under cover of darkness and took the king's road south. Her family asked no questions then, in those hours of darkness and fear. But later, when they were safe in the south, there were questions endlessly. Adara gave them the best answers she could, but none of them ever believed her, except for Jeff. And he grew out of it when he got older. She was only 7 after all, and she did not understand that ice dragons are never seen in summer and cannot be tamed nor ridden. Besides, when they left the house that night, there was no ice dragon to be seen. Only the huge dark corpses of 3 war dragons and the smaller bodies of 3 dragon riders in black and orange, and a pond that had never been there before, a small, quiet pool where the water was very cold. They had walked around it carefully, headed towards the road. Chapter 8. Spring. Their father worked for another farmer for 3 years in the south. He saved whatever he could, and he seemed happy. Hal is gone, and my land, he would tell Adara, and I am sad for that, but it is all right. I have my daughter back. For the winter was gone from her now, and she smiled and laughed and even wept like other little girls. 3 years after they had fled, the king's army routed the enemy in a great battle, and the king's dragons burned the foreign capital. In the peace that followed, the northern provinces changed hands once more. Terry had recaptured her spirit and married a young trader, and she remained in the south. Jeff and Adara returned with their father to the farm. When the first frost came, all the ice lizards came out, just as they had always done. Adara watched them with a smile on her face, remembering the way it had been. But she did not try to touch them. They were cold and fragile little things, and the warmth of her hands would hurt them. That is the conclusion of our story for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this experience with me. It's a good story, and while the ending is not necessarily what you would expect from a story, you kind of want everything to go just right at the end. I think that it was a reflection of real life more than that, even with the dragons. Not that we know of dragons in our time, but you may never know the exact right thing at the time, and what it comes down to is people are a lot more important than things. We saw that with them. The Uncle Hal was trying to get them to leave, but Adara's father didn't want to go because he loved the home and the woods and the fields that he grew up in. And I can relate to that because there are places that I really love. that are very nostalgic for me and make me happy to think about. But and there are sometimes reasons to take risks and everything, but the father realized in the end that his children were more important than a house or land, or even like the weather there, because weather is different whether you're north or south, and some people prefer cold weather and some people prefer hot weather. I personally prefer cold weather, but I'm sure a lot of you also prefer hot weather, and that's fine. I'm rambling right now, and that's okay. But I really enjoyed reading this with you guys. And if you want to share your thoughts on the way it ended, or on the book in general, or just anything really, feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you. Again, I have loved reading to you this week. I hope you have a lovely night tonight, and I am excited to see those of you who are able to come tomorrow to mobile camp. I will be there. All right.